Sloot was viciously beaten over the weekend. He could be taken to another prison as he awaits extradition to Alabama to face extortion charges. That's related to the disappearance of Natalee Holloway. Sloot is serving time in Peru for murder.
Medics were seen rushing into the high-security wing of a Peruvian prison just moments ago. The patient is none other than Joran Sloot. The initial reports are grim, describing a bloody scene and a man fighting for his life. But not because of another inmate. It seems the man who evaded justice for so long has tried to take his own way out. This story is developing fast, and the details coming out of Lima are shocking. We are looking at the potential end of one of the most infamous criminal timelines in modern history. Blood on the floor of the Peruvian cell. It is a chaotic morning in Peru. The news is moving fast, and honestly, it is hard to keep up with the confusion coming out of the prison system. Just a short while ago, guards at the prison where Joran Sloot is being held stumbled upon a gruesome scene. They found the Dutchman badly hurt inside his cell. Now, we have to be careful with the details here, but reports suggest this was not an attack from another prisoner. It looks like he tried to end his own life. The authorities immediately rushed him to the medical ward, and as of right now, he is fighting to survive his own actions. But here is the catch. This is not just some random inmate having a bad day. This is Joran Sloot. This is the guy who has managed to stay in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons for over 20 years. The prison officials are being tight-lipped, but leaks are suggesting that he used makeshift items found in his cell to inflict these injuries. It brings up a massive question about security in these facilities. How does a high-profile prisoner, someone who the whole world is watching, manage to get to this point without anyone noticing until it is too late?
Suspect in the disappearance of American teenager Natalee Holloway is being moved to a remote Peruvian prison.
Basically, the atmosphere in the prison right now is tense. You have to understand that Peruvian prisons are not like the ones you see in American movies. They are harsh, cold, and unforgiving places. Joran has been in and out of different facilities, including the infamous Chalapalca, which is high up in the Andes Mountains and known for freezing temperatures. While we are not 100% sure which specific facility he was in at the exact moment of this incident due to recent transfers, the conditions in any of them are enough to break a person. But Joran has always been resilient, almost arrogantly so. That is what makes this sudden turn of events so shocking. And get this, the timing is incredibly suspicious. Joran had recently been returned to Peru after a temporary extradition to the United States. In the US, he finally admitted to his role in the extortion of the Holloway family and, more importantly, gave a confession regarding what happened to Natalee. It seemed like he had played his final card. He had no more secrets to trade for better treatment. He was sent back to Peru to serve the remainder of his sentence for the crime against Stephanie Flores. It is like the adrenaline of the legal battle wore off, and he was left alone with his thoughts in a concrete box. What most people don't realize is that for a narcissist like Joran, the loss of control is the ultimate punishment. For years, he controlled the narrative. He told lies, he changed stories, and he made people dance to his tune. But back in that Peruvian cell, he was just another number. There were no more cameras, no more FBI agents offering deals, and no more attention. It was just him and the cold, hard reality of a sentence that stretches out for decades. The psychological weight of that must have been crushing. We are waiting for official medical updates, but the initial rumors are that his condition is critical. If he does not make it, this ends the saga without the families ever seeing him serve his full time. It feels like a final act of selfishness. Even in this moment, by trying to take his own life, he is taking control away from the justice system and the families who have waited so long for him to pay for what he did. It is a developing situation, and we are glued to the wire for updates. But to truly understand why we are here, we have to look at where this darkness began. The silence in that cell block is deafening right now. A vacation that ended in a nightmare. To understand the man lying in that hospital bed today, we have to rewind the clock to 2005. It was a different world back then. Natalee Holloway was an 18-year-old honors student from Alabama, full of life and excitement. She had just graduated high school and was on a celebratory trip to Aruba with her classmates. It was supposed to be the time of her life, the sun, the beach, the freedom. But it turned into a horror story that gripped the entire world. Hands down, this was the biggest news story of that year. Natalee was last seen leaving a bar called Carlos and Charlie's. She was getting into a car with 3 young men. 2 were brothers, the Kalpos, and the third was a Dutch national named Joran van der Sloot. That was the last time anyone saw her alive. When she did not show up for her flight home, the alarm bells started ringing. Her mother, Beth Holloway, flew to Aruba immediately, and that is when the nightmare truly began. It wasn't just that Natalee was missing. It was the wall of lies that Joran built instantly. Everyone is obsessed with the mystery, but the reality was pure manipulation. Joran changed his story so many times it made your head spin. First, he said he dropped her off at the hotel. Then he said he left her on the beach. Then he said he sold her. It was a game to him. He was a teenager, but he was operating with the coldness of a seasoned criminal. The Aruban authorities arrested him, released him, and arrested him again. They could never make charges stick because they never found a body. Joran knew this. He used the lack of physical evidence as a shield, and that is putting it lightly. He didn't just hide behind the law, he taunted the family. He did interviews, he wrote a book. He was caught on hidden cameras bragging about what he did, only to claim later he was lying to impress people. It was psychological warfare against a grieving mother. Beth Holloway was relentless, though. She never stopped hunting for the truth. But Joran was always one step ahead, or at least he thought he was. He thrived on the attention. He loved being the guy who knew the secret that the whole world wanted to know. Then came the extortion. This is where Joran's greed started to show the cracks in his armor. He reached out to the Holloway family and offered to reveal the location of Natalee's remains in exchange for $25,000 up front and another $225,000 later. It was cruel. He took the money, led a lawyer to a random site, and claimed he lied about the location. He used a tragedy to fund his lifestyle. He took that money and fled to Peru. And that flight to Peru is where the story shifts from a disappearance to a confirmed violent crime. It is not that simple, though. You might wonder why he wasn't stopped then. The FBI was building a case for extortion, but they wanted to see if he would lead them to the body. In that small window of time, while law enforcement was strategizing, Joran slipped away. He went to Lima to play poker. He was looking for a fresh start, or maybe just fresh victims. He carried the darkness of Aruba with him, and it was only a matter of time before it surfaced again. He thought he had escaped his past, but he was running straight into a trap of his own making. The pattern repeats 5 years later. Fast forward exactly 5 years. It is May 30th, 2010, the anniversary of Natalee's disappearance. Joran is in Lima, Peru. He is frequenting the casinos, playing poker, looking for action. This is where he meets Stephanie Flores. She was 21 years old, a business student, and the daughter of a well-known race car driver and businessman in Peru. She was smart and vibrant, just like Natalee. And, just like Natalee, she crossed paths with Joran at the wrong moment. They met at the poker table. Security footage shows them talking, laughing, and eventually leaving together. They went back to his hotel room. And this is where the story takes a gruesome turn. While in the room, it is believed that Stephanie saw something on Joran's laptop. Maybe it was an email about the Natalee Holloway case, or maybe she just asked the wrong question. Whatever triggered him, the violence that had been hidden for 5 years came pouring out. So, here is the deal. Joran attacked her. He took her life right there in that hotel room. It was brutal. And unlike in Aruba, he left a mountain of evidence. He left the body in the room. He walked out, cool and calm, and even grabbed a coffee before fleeing the country. He took Stephanie's money and her car and headed for the border of Chile. But he made a mistake. He underestimated the Peruvian authorities and the determination of Stephanie's father. When Stephanie was found, the manhunt was instant. They had his face on camera. They had his name. They linked him to the room. It was not a mystery. It was a pursuit. He was caught in Chile a few days later in a taxi. He looked disheveled, scared, and nothing like the arrogant boy from the interviews in Aruba. He was extradited back to Peru to face the music. And this time, there was no wealthy father in Aruba to protect him. There were no legal loopholes. The crazy part is that even then, he tried to manipulate the situation. He claimed temporary insanity. He claimed he was triggered by the trauma of the Aruba investigation. He tried to paint himself as a victim of his own past. But the Peruvian court did not buy it. In 2012, he pleaded guilty. He was sentenced to 28 years in prison. It felt like justice, finally. But for the Holloway family, it was bittersweet. A predator was off the streets, but he was in jail for a different crime, and they still did not have answers about Natalee. Joran settled into prison life. He got married behind bars. He became a father. He ran rackets inside the prison. He seemed to adapt to the chaos of the Peruvian penal system. He was still giving interviews, still trying to stay relevant. But the one thing he held on to was the secret of Aruba. It was his only currency. As long as he knew something the world didn't, he felt powerful. But power in prison is a fragile thing, especially when the United States government is still watching you. But the long arm of the law has a reach that spans continents. The final confession and the return. For over a decade, Joran sat in that Peruvian cell, thinking he was safe from American justice until his sentence was up in the late 2030s. But in 2023, something shifted. The U.S. Department of Justice had never forgotten about the extortion charges. They wanted him back. In a surprising move, Peru agreed to a temporary extradition. They would send him to Alabama to face trial for the extortion, and then he would come back to finish his time for Stephanie. This was a massive moment. Joran landed on U.S. soil. He was in shackles, surrounded by U.S. Marshals. He looked older, tired, and defeated. The arrogance was gone. He was facing a trial that could add decades to his life. And this is where the final deal was made. His lawyers knew he had no way out. The evidence of the extortion, the emails, the wire transfers, was rock solid. So, he made a plea deal. But the condition of the plea was not just admitting to the money. It was admitting to the act. Yeah, about that. He had to confess to what happened to Natalee Holloway in open court. And he did. He stood there and described, in graphic detail, how he ended her life on that beach in Aruba. He described using a cinder block. He described pushing her body into the ocean. It was the closure Beth Holloway had fought for since 2005. He was sentenced to 20 years for the extortion, to run concurrently with his Peruvian sentence. But the deal was done. He had given up his last secret. After the sentencing, he was put back on a plane and sent straight back to Peru. And this is a crucial point. When he left Peru, he was a celebrity inmate. When he returned, he was a man with nothing left. He had admitted to being a double criminal. He had shown weakness by confessing. He had no more leverage with the media or the authorities. He was just a guy serving time, and the reception back in the Peruvian prison system was likely not warm. So, what do you think? Is this the easy way out for Joran, or is surviving this the ultimate punishment? It is a heavy situation, and the updates are coming in by the hour. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do not forget to like and subscribe to stay updated as this story unfolds. Stay safe out there.